Good morning, everybody. Hi. Hello, Instagram and Facebook. Doing one of our joint calls today. Let's see if I can make sure I'm looking at both of you at the same time. Every time I do this, I'm like, why could we not just have one button that goes live on both, right? How are you guys? It's been a minute since I've done a live, and my team is like, get back on Instagram and Facebook, please, Toby. Everybody needs to hear from you. I don't know if that's true. Maybe. But today we're going to talk a little bit about, or I'm going to talk. I guess we're not talking. We're not on together, right? I'm going to talk. Hi, everybody. Good morning. Here's what I'm talking about today: how our thoughts create our results. And so let me tell you why this is on my mind today. So I've been looking back a lot. Thank you for saying you love my lives. Is that Donna? I let's just say seeing, even though I have my glasses on, what's on the Instagram is not the easiest thing, right? When we're not as young as we used to be. Okay. So, but anyway, I've been thinking a lot about the last 6 months, as I know you guys have too, probably, and how we're showing up, what we've done, what's changed, what we like, what we don't like about this period of time. That is, thank you. Yeah, I redid my books by color. I'm glad y'all like that. Um, I've been thinking a lot about how I've been showing up in this last 6 months with COVID, and so I know a lot of you probably have been thinking about that too. And I think, I don't know, it feels like we're hitting. I don't know if it's like the stages of grief or what, but for me, I feel like we're hitting this point that's like we're this is not going to change anytime soon. How many of you feel like that? Like for a while, it was like, okay, I'm fine, or I'm good, or I can ride this, or yeah, this is whatever. And now I feel like I'm like reality has set in. Like this is not even a new reality anymore. It's just reality. And so, thinking about that and thinking about how I've shown up over these last several months has me really um, focusing on what I want the next quarter, because we have some months still left in this year, right? What we want the next quarter to look like, and how I'm going to create the life that I want in that period of time. So here's what I was thinking about. So our thoughts create our results. And a lot of us don't realize that. We think our circumstances create our results. We think COVID created our results. Hey, Diane. Diane says, hey, from Baton Rouge. But we think our circumstances create our results, right? It's so easy to think that. Like, we're like, if COVID hadn't happened, if other things in the last 6 months hadn't happened, I wouldn't be creating the results that I have right now. But the truth is, it's our thoughts, not the circumstance, that create the results. So I've been looking at what results I have created, good and bad, if we're being judgmental, which we are as humans, right? Good and bad over the last 6 months. What do I want to keep doing? What do I want to stop doing? What do I want to start doing again? And just seeing how I've shown up. And it's really fascinating to think about what thoughts drove me to show up in a certain way. Like, what thought drove me to stop some of my good habits, which I definitely did, at least for a period of time, and created results I didn't like from that. What thoughts drove that? And many of you have done this too, either gotten off of like your health and wellness routine, or gotten off your bedtime, or stopped some other habit that you had. And so it's our thinking that does that. And so I was looking at the thoughts that had me stop doing some of the things that were really working for me, like some of my health and wellness things. And yeah, maybe I couldn't go to the gym at the exact same way I did before COVID, but I had plenty of equipment here at my house, and even went and got some the first week that I then didn't use for like 3 or 4 months. So what was I thinking that was keeping me from showing up? And I was typically thinking something like, I have to work, I have to be working, I have to be supporting the people in our community that are struggling. Like some story, some narrative, which is just a lot of thoughts strung together. And then I was believing all of the thoughts And they seem so true, right? When we think of them, we're like, yes, absolutely. I have to stop doing something that's working really well for me so I can start doing this other thing that feels so urgent right now. And yeah, and I'm going to do a podcast about this soon in the next couple of weeks, but just looking at how I was thinking, how I was showing up, and what that created for me. And so, in some ways, we can look and go, gosh, I wish I hadn't have made that choice. We could get mad and beat ourselves up for some of the things we've done. That didn't really help anything. But what does really, really help is to start to understand that your thoughts create your results. So let's talk about this a little bit. Let's like kind of get into the meat of what this looks like. And you're going to start to see if you kind of put yourself, your life, your choices under a microscope, you can start to see how what you think has you show up or not show up every day. So we think thousands of thoughts a day. Thousands. Some things say between 12 and 50,000. Who knows what the real number is? Certain things say women think a lot more thoughts than men. I'd probably believe that to be true for most of us women. But here's the sort of the science in our brains of what happens when we think a thought about any circumstance, COVID or anything else. We think a thought, it creates a feeling. That feeling then leads us to take an action or an inaction, like procrastination, or even an action that's not the action we want to keep doing, not the one that gets us the result we want. But whatever those actions are, they create our results. So ultimately, our thoughts create our results because every thought we think leads us to a feeling, which then leads us to do or not do something. And then we have kind of created our own reality, not kind of, definitely have, but like the thought has created our reality. So it's really important to start to see this because without doing this work and this level of awareness, we just go around thinking our circumstances create our reality all the time. But the problem with that is we don't have any control over our circumstances. So as long as we're believing that our circumstances create our reality, then we're always at the mercy of what's happening in the world, right? A recession, a pandemic, anything, politics, whatever it is. And so when you start to understand that your thoughts, every single one of your thoughts, which is mind-boggling to me, are optional. Just because 15,000 of them fly through your brain every day, you don't have to pick one. You don't have to hang on to one. Really, more importantly, you don't have to believe them. You can kind of just see them and be fascinated. Oh, interesting. I'm thinking a thought that right now I would be better off working instead of going for a walk, but I know that not to be true. And if we're not being really aware of our thinking, that's going to sound really appealing, right? Especially when we get out of doing something that we know is really good for us, that we know creates money in our business or health or something else. And this is that gap between us showing up and doing what we know is going to create results we want in our life, or this weird gap that we constantly have of I really, really, really want these results, but for some reason, I keep doing something different. And the reason we keep doing something different is because we're not aware of our thinking. We're not noticing that those thoughts are optional. We don't have even any space between us and the thinking. We just see the thought and we believe the thought and we do it. We're like, yeah, absolutely, I should skip working out today. Instead, I should, watch this Netflix show with my family because I really have been ignoring them lately. So right now in this very moment when I'm abandoning my health and wellness seems like the perfect time to connect with them, right? That's believing our thoughts. And when we do that, we consistently create results we don't want. So this is a lot of the work we're doing this month in Design You, is really digging into our belief systems, because our thoughts are beliefs that we've just thought over and over and over again. They seem so true, but nobody ever told us we had the option of not believing our thoughts. And nobody ever told us we had the option of not believing the things that we were told by our parents or somebody else. Like, we didn't know. And some of us come to know this at some point in our life, that we can choose. But it's really important to see that the thoughts you're choosing, because you are choosing the ones that you're choosing to believe in. There's a whole bunch. There's thousands of other ones that go through your head that you don't choose, but you're choosing the ones that create the results you're currently getting. Okay, so that's what I've been thinking about. I've been thinking, what results did I get in COVID or over the last 6 months? Which ones of them do I like? What was I thinking to create those results? Which ones do I not like? What do I want to think instead so that I could create different results? So I like this type of thinking. I like to believe that I am responsible for my own results, that it's not the world around me, that it's not my circumstances. Because again, if that's true, then I don't have any opportunity to change my reality at all. So so if we think thoughts thousands of times a day, and if they're all optional, then how do we start to only choose the ones, or not only, but more often? We're not ever going to get it 100% right, but how do we learn to more often than not believe the thoughts that get us the results we want in our life? Well, we got to be a little disciplined, maybe, if you want to call it. A lot of people don't like that word discipline, but a lot of us don't even really pay that much attention to what we're thinking. And one of the ways that I do this the best is I journal, because we can't see thoughts that are running through our head thousands a day, all, one behind the other. We don't even notice what we're thinking. We don't see what we're choosing to believe. But when you put them on paper and you can actually see with your eyes what you're thinking about, then you can really start to pay attention. Oh, interesting. When I thought this thought, I felt this feeling, and that made me show up in this way, take an action or procrastinate. And that's how I was creating the current results. And so whatever you've created, if you've got money or no money, a better body or not as good of a body as you had, better health or not as good of health as you had before COVID, more connected to people or not more connected to people, better sleep schedule or worse sleep schedule, like anything that has happened, any result you've created, it has come from the way you were thinking about that particular thing. And if you can see it on paper, you can really start to understand how to start to change the results that you're getting in your life, right? So you got to be willing to put it on paper. You got to be willing to look at it without negative judgment. Hi, Caleb Brown. That's Caleb, my trainer, who's like, yeah, you're finally coming back to the gym on Monday. That's one of the decisions. That's one of the thoughts I was thinking that had me not show up at the gym for 6 months, Caleb, but I'm coming back. But yeah, so you got to be able to see what you're thinking so you can decide to keep it or not keep it, right? So yeah, so it's a little bit easier said than done, but it's not hard at all, y'all. It's really not hard. It's just the practice of getting some space between you and your thoughts, getting them down on paper, and noticing when I consistently think this thought, then I don't show up in a way that I really want to. And I want to show up differently than I'm showing up right now. So that's how you do it. You become aware of your current thoughts. You have to put them on paper and see exactly what they're creating for you. And it really, really, really helps you to start to notice what you can change. Now, I know a lot of us think, I don't have time for that, Toby. I don't have time to journal. I don't have time to look at my thoughts. I don't have time for anything. Which, by the way, I don't have time is also a thought. And when you think the thought, I don't have time, what results are you creating in your life? Not the ones that you probably want. So this really proves my point, right? Because so many of us, time is the biggest obstacle to everything. I don't have time to create the business I want. I don't have time to create the health I want. I don't have time to be with my family. Like, just that thought, I don't have time, is a huge obstacle to creating the results we want in our life, because we know we have time. Because look at all the time we're spending doing things like inaction, procrastinating, watching TV, other things. And I'm not saying we should be productive 24/7. I don't think we should. I think we should also be resting. I think we should also be chilling out. I think we should also be connecting with our families. But until we're willing to really look at the way we're thinking and essentially taking responsibility is what we're talking about. When we can look at the last 6 months, which is what I've been doing, and say, here's what I created. Here's the parts I like. Here's the parts I don't like. But both parts, I 100% am responsible for creating. I didn't have to change anything really for coach. Yeah, maybe I couldn't go physically to the gym anymore, but y'all, there's a Peloton in this house. There is a treadmill in this house. There is so much weight equipment in this house. I live in a neighborhood that has the perfect circle to be walking. Like, not a single piece of my health plan and working out had to really change that much if I didn't want it to change. Yet I allowed myself to think things that had me show up differently. Okay, so when we can start to take responsibility for how we're thinking, that's the moment that we create whatever life we want, whatever that is. So I hope that you will start to think about this. I hope you'll start to think about, and you can even tell me if you want to right now, just to start this work. Tell me in a comment, what is one thought that you're noticing right now that you've been practicing, or that maybe you're holding on to this week, that's not serving you in creating the results you want? Like, if you see yourself not taking action, if you keep thinking, I should be going live on Facebook like Toby, and I'm not, like, there's a thought blocking you from that. If you think, I should be raising my prices, but I'm not, there's a thought stopping you from that. If you think, I need to stop eating chocolate chip cookies, but you're not, there's a thought that's telling you that that's the better choice right now, but you might not be noticing it. And when you can recognize your thinking that is creating the stuff you don't want, that's when you can start to consider other options, right? Other thoughts. So I hope you walk away with this from this little mini Toby lesson today. We think thousands of thoughts a day, thousands and thousands and thousands. So in some ways, until you become aware of that, it's kind of not your fault that you created the results you did. But if you want to change, this is your opportunity, okay? So we think thousands of thoughts, but they're all optional. Maybe not optional to think, they're going to run through our head, but they're optional to believe. We don't have to believe any of them. And we get to decide. Now, some we're going to want to keep, right? We're going to want to keep the ones that create what we want in our life, that create the feelings we want, that create the results we want, the actions and the results we want. But just get really, really aware of what that looks like for you. How are you showing up? And when you're frustrated and when you're questioning why am I here again? Why do I always have this pattern of self-sabotage or not showing up, or feast or famine, or all or nothing? Like, why all or nothing? That's because of a thought you're thinking at any given time. And you probably kind of alternate between two, right? When you get all motivated and hyped up, you're thinking one thought, or it's going to be more than one, but like a set of thoughts, like, this is really it, I'm going to really do it this time, this is really the diet or the employee or the coach or whatever, this is the one. And you think some hypey version of some thoughts that get you motivated. And then at some point you start thinking another set of thoughts of, like, I'm tired of this, it's not working, I knew this would not work, I'll always be fill in the blank, fat, broke, something. Like, those are thought patterns of going all or nothing. And you absolutely have everything you need right now to be able to change these thoughts if you want to, if you're willing to do the work, okay? So it's at your disposal right now. You have everything you need to start paying attention to, writing down, what was I thinking when I created the stuff I like? What was I thinking when I'm creating the stuff I don't like? What do I want to stop? What do I want to start, right? What do I want to continue? Sometimes it's, I'm really good. I never got off my sleep schedule. I never stopped eating unhealthy during COVID. I never stopped working out. What was I thinking to keep me doing those things? Because the truth is, if those thoughts work in one area of your life, they probably work in the other area too. So if you can identify them, if you can isolate them, identify them on paper, write a list of these tools of the thoughts that you use over and over to get results, then you can model those in other parts of your life too, okay? Super fun, right? Feels really, I think, for me, exciting and hopeful to know that at any moment, Even if we find ourselves doing something we don't really love, we have the chance to change it and do whatever we want to instead. Okay, so that's your mini lesson for today. If you want to go deeper on this work, join us in Design You right now. We're doing the entire month on our belief system, this very work. We're uncovering what we're believing, how it's making us show up, what we didn't know we were believing, what we didn't know we had a choice to change our belief systems. It's really exciting work. And that's exactly what we do. You're so welcome, Catherine, who says I needed this today. And I know you missed my lives. I'm back. Guess what? Okay, so next week I'll be gone because I have something happening and I'll be out of the house. But after that, I will be back with these lives every Wednesday. And I'm going to come back on Instagram Live with guests because you guys were loving those on Tuesdays, every Tuesday. So week after next, I will be back. I won't quit again. I won't think thoughts that make me not show up on Instagram and Facebook Live, okay? Hi, Chair Whimsy. Love me some Chair Whimsy. Hi, Katrina. Big hugs to all of you that got something out of today's lesson. I will keep bringing you some Toby wisdom every week after next week. So fun to see you. DM me if you have questions about this, about Design You, about anything else, because I can't wait to hear from you guys. I'll see you soon. Bye for now.